Meanwhile, the Senate Rules Committee is considering amendments today to a massive federal voting bill. Among other changes, the For the People Act would automatically register eligible voters, mandate 15 days of early voting, allow absentee voting without an excuse, restrict gerrymandering, and make political donations more transparent. The bill passed the House in March but faces long odds in the Senate. Both the Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer and Minority Leader Mitch McConnell spoke at today's hearing, an indicator of how central this issue is for both parties. So let's bring in two leaders from outside government who are also involved in this fight. Randy Weingarten, the president of the American Federation of Teachers, and Ronna Epting, the executive director of MoveOn.org. Thank you both for being here today.
Thank you.
Randy, I'll start with you. First off, why is the teachers union involved in this?
So look, voting is key to our democracy, and I just happen to be a social studies teacher, where a lot of what we talk about in terms of social studies is how our country became a democracy and what you need to do to create the will and the voice of the people. And so, it is foundational to people engaged in civitas. And frankly, education was started in all 50 states and in Puerto Rico because of civic participation. So you have to actually have the engagement. You can't have the suppression of voting. You can't go back to having poll taxes or to having different kinds of ways that limit access. It should be the people who are telling or electing politicians. It should not be politicians deciding who their electorate should be.
And Ronna, as we see these bills moving in Georgia and Florida, Texas, Arizona, and elsewhere, how are they impacting communities of color, voters, black voters, Latino voters? What would the For the People Act do to counteract that?
Yes, so we are seeing hundreds of pieces of legislation at this state level being launched as basically an attack by Republicans at the state level on the right to vote. And Republicans know full well that their ideas are not popular. So what they're doing is they are trying to pass rules that make it harder for people to vote because they know the only way for them to hold on to power is to control who gets to vote for them. And they're choosing folks that are with them. And so they are making it harder for Black and brown people to vote at the state, local, and federal level. And that is their strategy. That is their ultimate goal.
And Randy, what specifically do you think will be helpful in this federal package to ensure that voting rights are preserved across the country as these laws are being fought over and passed in many cases?
Mm-hmm. So, Terry, I'm so glad that you talked about it and you had Katie Hobbs on beforehand, because this is about protecting the sanctity of the vote. It's about making sure that everybody has access. And, it used to be that Republicans used to love vote by mail and things that could help what they assumed to be their voters vote. So what this does is that it has a bunch of different things that would just protect access. It's the John Lewis Voting Rights Act. It's the ensuring that that vote by mail can happen. It's dealing with gerrymandering by basically saying, have a neutral commission to decide what the line should be. And it also says that, we should get dark money out of politics, or at least be transparent about it so that everybody knows what's going on. It stops the kind of things that just happened in Georgia, where you're going to get into trouble. You will, create a criminal act if you give water to somebody who's online. And so, the other countries in the world, they actually have voting as a responsibility. They actually want people to vote. And that's what we used to want to do. There's about 20 different ways that S1 and HR1 attempt to do this.
And Randy, Senator McConnell has called this a stunning one-party takeover of voting laws. That's a quote. So what do you say to that accusation that to pass a federal law like this is Democratic overreach?
You know something? The Voting Rights Act in the 1960s, that was passed by Republicans and Democrats. George Bush provided or said, let's reauthorize that. What this is that McConnell wants minority rule as opposed to, think about it. We have this big lie that the last election was not free and fair, and that is now fueling all these things to restrict voting. So I don't care which party wants it. And frankly, if you poll people, it's Republicans and Democrats. If they don't hear which party is supporting it, they want the people to decide who our elected officials are, not the other way around.
And Ronna, what are you doing to try to get this passed in the Senate and overcome Republicans? It's a long shot, really, and potentially some moderate Democrat opposition here. Clearly, McConnell's ready for a showdown on this and wants it. It'll help his party.
Well, look, the For the People Act is wildly popular for many of the reasons Randy just stated. And that's because folks know all across this country, no matter what political party they identify with, that our democracy is broken, that it's not working for us. It's not responsive. And we saw at the insurrection in January 6th, we hit rock bottom as a country. We barely walked back from the brink of authoritarianism. Ultimately, people know that we deserve to have a democracy that is reflective, that is fair, that works for all of us, and that is stable. So we need every single person now, today, to call their 2 U.S. senators and demand that they bring the For the People Act to the floor and they vote yes. Time is of the essence, and we're seeing that as Republicans launch these attacks at the state level. They refuse to accept that they're no longer in power, and they're using it. They're attempting to deploy a political power grab. But what the For the People Act is, it's a political power grab for the people, not for a party. It's for us. Government of, by, and for the people. It is essential. The window is open now. We must act. We must pass this, and it will restore our democracy for Black, brown, white, for all walks of life all throughout this country. It'll ensure money doesn't drown out our voices. It'll ensure our politicians are elected by the people and not the other way around, and so much more. It is historic, wildly popular, and it must be passed. So we are encouraging everyone to call their senators today, tomorrow, and every day until they actually pass this legislation and President Biden signs it into law.
All right, Randy Weingarten, Ronna Epting, thank you both.
Thank you.
Hi, everyone. George Stephanopoulos here. Thanks for checking out the ABC News YouTube channel. If you'd like to get more videos, show highlights, and watch live event coverage, click on the right over here to subscribe to our channel. And don't forget to download the ABC News app for breaking news alerts. Thanks for watching.